Tyler had grown used to the rhythm of silence. It clung to him like an old coat, worn, fraying at the sleeves, but familiar. Each day was a repeat of the last. Early shift at the gas station, counting change with the tired fingers, and walking home under the glow of tired streetlights. No greetings, no goodbyes, just the mechanical pulse of survival. He wasn't always like this. There was a time when Tyler dreamed. He used to fill notebooks with stories when he was a kid, trying to make sense of the chaos in his home by imagining better worlds. But the weight of his past had pressed those dreams into the dirt. A father who left without warning, a mother who drank away her sadness, a childhood filled with shouting behind closed doors and long nights wondering why love always seemed to skip their house. By the time he turned 20, life had worn him down to the bone. He dropped out of community college after his third semester, overwhelmed by bills and a sense that no matter how hard he tried, he'd always be a step behind. He never told anyone, not because they didn't care, but because no one was really there to ask. So he stayed quiet, watching the world move around him like he wasn't part of it. The customers who came in barely looked up. Tyler didn't blame them. He had learned how to disappear a long time ago. It was on a Thursday afternoon in early spring when something shifted. An old man walked into the station, slender frame, slow steps, a wool cap pulled tight over thinning white hair. Tyler watched him from behind the counter, expecting the usual. Fuel, maybe a candy bar, and then gone. But the man lingered by the dusty rack of second-hand books near the window. Hardly anyone ever touched those. Tyler forgot they were even there. After a few minutes, the man came up to the counter and placed a single worn book between them. "You ever read this one?" he asked, voice soft like falling snow. Tyler glanced down. It was a tattered copy of short stories. Nothing special, just old pages in faded ink. But the question startled him. "No," he muttered. "Not in a while." The man nodded slowly, eyes searching Tyler's face, not with judgment, but with something gentler. "Keep it," he said. "You look like someone who might need a good story." And with that, he left. No name, no explanation, just a quiet act of noticing, of seeing. Tyler stood there long after the door closed behind him, the book still resting in his hands. For the first time in a long time, he felt, remembered. The book sat on his nightstand for 2 days. Tyler stared at it like it was a stranger. He wasn't sure why he hadn't thrown it into a drawer or left it behind at work. Something about the way the old man looked at him, like he saw past the surface, made it feel heavier than its worn pages suggested. On the third night, when sleep wouldn't come, he picked it up. The cover creaked like it hadn't been opened in years. Inside were stories of people who'd lost everything. Jobs, families, even hope, but found something unexpected along the way. Not grand miracles, just small acts. A hand offered, a meal shared, a door left open when someone needed it most. By the end of the first story, Tyler felt something unfamiliar pressing at the edges of his chest. Not sadness exactly. Something older. Something like longing. The next day, the old man returned. Tyler saw him approaching through the station window. He felt the tiniest spark of relief, like the sight of a lighthouse in fog. "Back again?" Tyler asked. The man smiled, setting down a thermos of coffee and a folded slip of paper. For you, he said. You looked tired last time. Tyler hesitated, then accepted both. Why are you being nice to me? The man's eyes softened. Because someone was kind to me once. I never forgot it. Figured I'd pass it on. He turned to leave, but then paused. You ever think about writing? He asked. The question hung in the air like smoke. Used to, Tyler admitted. Long time ago. Well, the man said, I used to be a librarian. Still got a few old journals I never filled. If you want one, I'll bring it next time. And he did. Over the next few weeks, the old man, Mr. Eldridge, as Tyler would later learn, returned regularly. Never stayed long, never asked too many questions. But he always left something behind. A journal, a poem, a quote scribbled on a napkin. And Tyler began to write. At first, just little things. A sentence about the sky. A memory of his mother's laugh before things got bad. Then longer thoughts, reflections, hopes he didn't know he still carried. He wrote about the pain too. About how invisible he felt. About how sometimes he thought no one would notice if he disappeared. But in writing, something shifted. The darkness inside him didn't vanish, but it softened. It made room for something else. A fragile belief that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't broken beyond repair. Months later, Tyler sat at a coffee from the gas station. He had just mailed in an application to a small writing program tucked between pages of his journal, a program he never would have dared to try for before. As he sipped his drink, he glanced at the book Mr. Eldridge first gave him, still worn, still creased. Inside the front cover, a message in neat, shaky handwriting. You were never invisible. I saw you. Tyler smiled. He never saw Mr. Eldridge again after that summer, but the old man had already given him what he needed most. A reminder that kindness, even the smallest kind, can rewrite an entire story. We often underestimate the weight of a single gesture, but sometimes the quietest kindness, a book, a question, a smile, becomes the lifeline someone didn't know they needed. Tyler's story reminds us that we don't need to fix others to help them heal. We only need to notice them, to see them. Somewhere, someone may be waiting for that one act of kindness to shift the course of their life. Perhaps we carry more light than we think. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe for more stories that speak to the quiet strength within us all.